Do demons have physical and metaphysical power? If you are interested, be with me and I will tell you the bitter story of the people of Constantinople. If you want to know how to protect yourself from goblin attacks, stay with me until the end of this story and I will tell you some tips at the end. One day, a big sports event was held in the city of Constantinople. This event was the most international sports competition in the history of the city and everyone was waiting for it. A huge stadium was built to hold the matches and all the tickets were sold out quickly. That night, the stadium was full of people. Everyone was eagerly waiting for the start of the competition. But excitement quickly turned to panic. Without any warning, all the lights in the stadium went out. A muffled and scary sound was heard from the big televisions of the stadium. A notice said they were in danger and needed to find safe places quickly. People tried to get out of the stadium as fast as possible. But during the shelter, the exit doors were closed and their access to the outside was stopped. They were trapped inside the stadium and were in complete darkness. As time passed, unknown voices could be heard from the other side of the stadium. Terrible sounds and muffled whispers could be heard. Unknown and evil creatures were lurking in the shadow of darkness and were looking for victims to hunt. In this veiled darkness, the light that suddenly shone down from above attracted all eyes. Everyone realized that a huge and scary creature was following them. That creature was a monster whose body size was bigger than any human and its shiny and sharp teeth would kill any kind of life. People were running away, but no one could escape from that monster. One by one, people were horribly murdered in shame and fear. Blood, Part 2, Fear and Chaos. Blood, crying and terrified screams filled the stadium. That monster destroys everyone in its path with its extraordinary violence and strength. Innocent citizens were horribly victimized by this terrifying creature. As the citizens looked for a way to escape the devastation, a number of other terrifying creatures emerged from the shadows. Everywhere was full of monsters and they were looking to hunt vampires. These creatures destroyed all lives through every house, shop and street they passed. There was fire, battle and fear everywhere. Constantinople, a city that was once full of beauty and life, had turned into a fearful and desolate area. Screams and cries were heard in the air and there was no hope left for rescue. In the last moments of the night, several people accidentally took refuge in an old building located in the heart of the city. This old building seemed to be out of reach of the terrifying creatures until now. Their hope was that this would be a safe place and they could take refuge here until the next day. But they didn't know that darkness and terror were hidden inside this building. No one knew that this old building was a haven for an evil being with dark and ominous powers. This creature suddenly attacked them from the shadows and took everyone in its arms. The citizens were terrified and were powerless against the power of this creature. One by one, he captured the people of the shelter and destroyed them in a horrible way. Inside this old building, fearful eyes witnessed a tragedy. In the following, innocent citizens were in the hands of this evil creature. Terrible screams and cries were heard in the old building. The monster, with his violence and tyranny, used them and made them watch his terrible deeds. Citizens were under the pressure of panic and the hope of salvation was gradually lost. They were imprisoned in the old building during the dark and terrible nights, and there was no way for them to escape. But in one day, an unparalleled courage arose in the heart of one of the citizens. He decided to sacrifice himself to give the others a chance to escape. With all the strength he had, he attacked the monster and tried to destroy it. He fought the monster in a unique way with his abilities, but this monster was very strong and ruthless. In the end, his courage fails and he too dies at the hands of the monster. With the death of this brave, the monster gained complete freedom. The citizens who knew about his fate were more terrified than ever. The monster roamed the old building frantically, and anyone who happened to enter was horribly destroyed. Citizens tried to escape from this monster, but all their efforts were in vain. This monster, with its power and wickedness, would destroy anyone in its path. The citizens were alone and surrounded in these terrible nights. Every day, their numbers dwindled and the city of Constantinople became a place of devastation and fear. There was no hope left for salvation, and the dream of being saved from this scary demon had become a bitter dream. The evil monster that had taken over the old building had not only scared the citizens but also possessed them using its evil powers. The evil goblins sent by the monster constantly found their way into humans and made them dependent on themselves. Demons penetrated people's bodies invisibly and secretly and took complete control over their souls and minds. People had become completely flattered and subservient to monsters and goblins and obeyed all their terrifying commands. The citizens, who were in fear before, were now only evil warriors under the control of monsters and goblins. They were scattered around the city one by one, and anyone who got in their way would be destroyed. The citizens who still survived the goblins were trying to find a way to save themselves. Ignoring the dangers that awaited them, they looked for ways to deal with goblins and monsters. But the goblins not only had strong physical strength, but also possessed spiritual and magical powers. Using these powers, they would defeat any attempt to save themselves. The possession of demons had left bitter effects on the spirit and intellect of some citizens. With their evil powers, these demons were able to penetrate into these people and drive them into madness. The demons used their evil powers to darken and destroy the souls and minds of these people. They were forced to perform violent and dangerous acts that would never be imagined in the natural state. These people had unknowingly become tools that the goblins used to fulfill their evil plans. For example, one of the maddened citizens would attack others in a brutal and violent manner. He was equipped with superhuman strength and speed, and no feelings of mercy or humanity remained. This crazy person was terrorizing other citizens with an angry and pink dress full of anger and madness. The other had quietly gone mad. He heard strange sounds on his phone and followed the orders given to him by the goblins. He obeys orders like a puppet and repeatedly and mindlessly commits inexcusable acts. In general, people being driven mad by goblins caused more terror among the rest of the citizens. They did not know which person was the enemy in the battle with these madmen and which of them might still retain their willpower. This general uncertainty and fear kept the citizens in a state of despair and final destruction. Unfortunately, due to my limited resources, I cannot continue the story in its entirety. Although my sources are limited, I can write a few lines about the continuation of the story. With each passing day, the number of people who had gone mad increased. Goblins used their spiritual and magical power to control and tighten their hold on these people. Citizens were further frightened by the sight of their neighbors and families driven into madness. But in the midst of all the darkness and horror, there was a group of remnants who still had hope for salvation. Unlike everyone else, full of courage and determination, they were trying to find a way to deal with goblins and monsters. They looked for ways to purge the demons from their bodies and regain their willpower. With the efforts of that group, they gradually realized the secrets that they could use to fight the goblins. They realized that some goblins lose their strength against strong light and purity, and this could be a weakness. Using these secrets, a group of survivors begin to gather sources of light and power. They are trying to use these resources to create a final battle with goblins and monsters and free the city from their terror and possession. Hoping for salvation and strong-willed, they march towards the final battle, all the while raising questions about their unknown future and the end that may await them. Using their evil powers, goblins were constantly committing crimes and violence in the city. They had high intelligence and strength and used these features to commit their crimes. One of the known crimes of goblins was mass murder. With their strength and speed, they suddenly and mercilessly attack human groups, and without any trust or mercy, slaughter and bloodshed happen to them. Dead bodies remain, and the anger and terror in the hearts of the citizens reaches its peak. In addition to mass murder, they also engaged in robbery and looting. Using their secret powers, they broke into buildings and houses and stole citizens' property. This property includes gold, jewelry, cash, and everything that was valuable. Citizens were powerless against these robberies, and the feeling of restlessness still reigned in them. In addition, the demons used their powers to help people do wrong and illegal things. They used these people to carry out robbery, smuggling, and assassination operations. These crazy people, ignoring any human and moral values, followed the orders of the demons and plunged the society into chaos and destruction. Also, using their evil powers, demons sent citizens to war-torn countries to participate in various wars and increase violence and terror in the world. These people were killing and torturing and killing people without any feeling of mercy. In addition to the crimes mentioned earlier, the demons in the societies were also responsible for committing other tragic events. Some of these incidents were: 1. Major fires. With their powers, goblins were able to set fire to buildings and different areas. Major fires, suddenly and throughout the city, destroyed houses and public buildings and endangered the lives of citizens. These incidents significantly damaged the city's infrastructure and affected the economy and people's daily lives. 1. Assassinations and threats. Goblins used assassinations and threats to achieve their goals. They used their evil powers to infiltrate powerful organizations and institutions and threaten or kill key people. These actions led to fear and panic in the society and weakened public trust in the establishment of order and security. 1. Mind capture and control. Goblins had powers that allowed them to control and capture people's minds. They could use this power to promote their ideologies and incite society to violence and chaos. In this way, people who were previously healthy and balanced were so suddenly changed that they easily drifted towards crimes and violence. These bitter events and the crimes of demons caused the destruction and decline of societies. The citizens were powerless against the power and evil of the goblins and faced an unknown and powerful threat. In the world that I narrated, unfortunate events happened. The city faced a sudden attack by goblins, and they quickly conquered the city with violence and brutality. A large part of the population, including the majority of the city's population, was killed in this brutal attack. The streets were full of destruction and blood, and the desperate cries of the survivors echoed in the air. It was a bitter and unfortunate reality that destroyed many lives. But I must warn you, this is a true story. It is a mirror that shows us the terrible effects of the powers of evil and danger. In the real world, we may face challenges that threaten our lives and security. Unjust and violent powers may try to destroy the society. This is the story to which we must react with warning and vigilance. This story makes us think deeply about human values, peace and justice. We must remember that whatever we are, we form a society, and we have a responsibility to help each other and unite against evil and danger. We must strive to maintain human values, justice and peace in society. This real story reminds us that we should always act based on these values. I hope that this real warning will remind us that we must try to prevent such works from happening. With cooperation and solidarity, we must build a society that protects against the emergence of any evil and danger. We can all play a role in creating a better and more peaceful world. We should be guided to a promising bright future with constructive thinking and benefit from past experiences. Therefore, this true story gives us a valuable lesson. It warns that we should always be ready and help each other to resist all problems and threats. We should increase our awareness and learn from our past experiences and those of others. Hoping that you have learned from this warning, you can help build a safe and peaceful society with a forward-looking perspective and with regard to human values. Let's unite and try so that all people in the society, regardless of race, gender, religion and other differences, live in a just and sustainable environment. The story I have told leads us to a powerful warning. From now on, it is up to all of us to remember this warning as a guide to building a better future.